Thank you for calling the Energy Improvement Corporation. Please note that our menu has changed. If you know your party's extension, you can dial it at any time. If you are this is Sarah.
Hey Sarah, this is Ryan Pichet. You're with the Lewis County Board of Legislators.
Hi Ryan and everyone. Thanks so much for letting me join today.
Sure, so I know you and Eric spoke and exchanged some emails, and you've actually been working with Joan on the contract. This board has had a presentation from our IDA on the PACE program, so they're familiar with some of the basics, but they had some more in-depth questions, particularly about the lien and how that process would work in foreclosure. That's kind of where we're at. At that point, I'll kind of turn it over to the board for their questions and anything you might have for us, Sarah.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Who had the questions, Ryan, before?
Well, you guys, we asked if you were comfortable voting on the contract next month, and you said you wouldn't feel comfortable without having an opportunity to talk with Sarah, or someone from PACE. So, Sarah, why don't you explain the foreclosure process? That was
Sure.
one thing that came up. The lien, that word makes people nervous. So explain kind of the order of operations with PACE.
Of course. So just to give context for it, because PACE financing is authorized by Article 5L of New York State General Municipal Law, that gives municipalities the authority to provide this financing and to secure the repayment of the financing through this benefit assessment lien on the improved property. So that's why we, EIC, Energy Improvement Corporation, we can't do this without the county's involvement, because the county is the only one with the authority to place this lien on the property. So what we've done with this benefit assessment lien is that we've subordinated it to municipal taxes, and it's still senior to non-municipal liens. So if there are any mortgage holders on the property, we do require lender consent before moving forward with the financing. And when the property owner, assuming they meet all the qualifications for the financing, they enter into a finance agreement with the capital provider. And then at that time, we record the benefit assessment lien on the land records at the county. And so that creates this security for the capital provider who's made this loan to the property owner. So in the case that, and so it's not involved, it's not on the tax bill, and there's no, the county's not involved in the billing or collection of the payments because we've created this separate lien. So EIC does all that as program administrator on behalf of the county. And
Sarah,
so in the case,
Sarah,
yeah,
it's Joan. One quick
Hi,
question.
Joan.
The benefit assessment lien, in whose name is that lien recorded? The county or the lender?
So it's recorded by EIC on behalf of the county, and then at the same time that we record that lien, we assign the lien to the capital provider.
So there'll be an assignment as well.
Correct. That's correct.
So the property holder, the property holder is basically seeing a lien on their property in the name of the county, right?
I just want to make sure I'm answering correctly when saying in the name of the county. There is an exhibit as part of the municipal agreement that shows the certificate of levy and lien of benefit assessment. So it's showing that Energy Improvement Corporation is acting on behalf of the county and levying this benefit assessment.
Okay, so but who's there's a benefit assessment agreement, right?
There's a finance agreement between the property owner and the capital provider.
And,
And there's also an administration agreement between EIC and the capital provider.
okay. And I guess that agreement makes reference to the fact that there's gonna be this benefit assessment lien recorded? Is that what
Yes,
happens?
that's correct.
Okay. Go ahead.
Can I just ask a question? This is Patty O'Brien, the county treasurer. You're talking about levying something onto the property taxes. What is it that you're levying onto the property taxes?
Well, it's not onto the property taxes. It is a charge on the property as defined by the enabling state statute. So it is a lien on the property, but it is not grouped together with municipal taxes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure, of course. And the next one I was going to mention is that in the case that the property owner does not pay their annual installment lien, which is how much they owe for that year to pay off that benefit assessment, the capital provider has the right to enforce the lien following the same process that the municipality would follow for delinquent taxes. But in order to do that, the capital provider first has to pay off any delinquent taxes. So they can't even start the process until they pay off any back taxes that the property owner owes to the municipality.
So, I guess, my name's Larry Dahlhoff, I'm a legislator. The only place that the county has a concern in this, I think in my mind, is if we foreclose on property for non-payment of the property taxes. So what happens to this lien that is in maybe our name or maybe the financial institution's name? At that point, what happens to that lien?
Sure, so the capital provider holds that lien, and they, it is highly unlikely that they would let it get to that point. So the capital provider would know that the county is starting the foreclosure process, and they would step in to pay off those taxes to prevent the county taking over their interest in the property. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, in that case, if they don't step in and we foreclose on the property and sell it at auction, with a quitclaim deed, then that lien does not follow the property transfer, correct?
The future installment payments, so the balance of the benefit assessment lien does remain with the property through foreclosure.
Not if the county has foreclosed. It wipes out that lien. So if they haven't paid their taxes, and here's the dilemma, and maybe conceptually we're just not getting it, but if the county has to foreclose, you're gonna get notice, cause, whoever is the lender is gonna get notice. And either they pay off the taxes and take it out of our foreclosure process, but if they don't for some reason, then we foreclose and any of those liens get wiped out.
Any delinquent liens, yes, do get wiped out. The benefit assessment lien stays with the property.
Is that in your local law?
I believe it is. Let me just look for the exact place.
See, that's gonna be problematic, and you're right, in most instances, that should not happen, because the lender would be paying up any delinquent taxes. But just in case, for some reason, the lender went under or something, or they assigned it without giving the county or anybody else some notice and we foreclose, we're giving a buyer at auction clear title.
Just to respond to one point, the lender has to get consent from EIC before signing the lien to a third party. So that wouldn't happen without notice to the property owner and to EIC.
That has no merit. I guess our concern remains, what happens to that lien when it goes through the county foreclosure process? If it still exists and that the financial institution, if they're still in business, didn't step up to the plate and that lien did not get resolved or attended to, we would issue at an auction a quitclaim deed to the purchaser, which would be free and clear of, in this case, your lien or your financial institution's lien.
Okay, and I'm sorry, so you're saying that when it goes to auction, it would be wiping out any other liens on the property, all existing liens on the property?
Right.
Correct.
Well, I mean, that would, I will double check this because I want to make sure I'm giving you the full correct answer on this. But I would say that issue would make it even less likely that the capital provider would risk losing the property, because then they wouldn't see any future payments
Right.
from that loan. And they've invested a lot of money in the property.
Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but we've had banks not pay.
So that's a risk to the capital provider, but it's not a risk to the municipality.
it's like,
Correct.
but for the capital provider, whether it's a bank or your company or the people there, I mean, just because you pick up the taxes for them doesn't mean you own the property, because it's still in the owner's name. Am I wrong in that?
Well, it's just taking it out of our foreclosure process.
It's taken out
Yes.
foreclosure,
They
but-
might have to foreclose on it down the line, but
But
that's.
potentially
they
it can
would have
happen
to do.
again,
Yes.
because it doesn't
Well, not the
protect the property.
taxes, but, if they don't pay their debts, so.
Okay.
So, Sarah, the only reason why, and the treasurer and I talked about this, because we have had county tax foreclosures where, lenders, banks, who are mortgage holders, have been notified and they failed to step up and pay up the taxes, and so their liens got wiped out. So,
Mm-hmm.
we just, that's, sometimes it does happen.
Sure. And with that, but I'm not sure if I see that is a problem for this, how that's presents a problem for this program, and tell me if I might be missing something. Because
So-
then it would be the capital provider who's risking losing out their investment, not the
Yeah,
county that would be losing out.
But in terms of your proposed local law, I just thought there was some language in there that maybe you and I are gonna have to go over again, because I was a little, uncomfortable with the language on what happens if, under that scenario.
Okay. Well, I'd be happy to go through it with you
Yeah.
more carefully, and
And
if I can't answer anything, I could certainly talk to our attorney to know the answer for you, if there's something I cannot answer.
George, can I ask one more question? Okay, the other thing on your proposed local law, did I read it correctly where basically under this program, the, mortgage tax, recording of the mortgage, tax is waived, is exempt?
That's correct, because we are recording it as an agent of the municipality. It's not a mortgage tax, so we want to make sure that we're not being charged anything for recording it, that the municipality would not be charged.
And is that just for the lender's share, or it wasn't clear in my reading of it, whether or not the borrower's share of the mortgage tax is also exempt, is that how you?
Well, it's not a mortgage,
Okay, but it's.
so they're not recording a mortgage.
It's a loan, right, on
Correct, so
property.
we're recording the lien.
Yeah,
So we do the recording, and we do that on behalf of the municipality, because this is, a municipally provided public benefit, this type of financing. So we are doing that on the county's behalf, and therefore we're asking not to be charged anything that the county would not be charged.
okay,
And we provide a template letter that we ask from the county to provide to us, so that when we do record the lien, we can bring that to the county clerk's office, just to show that the county has said we're doing this on their behalf.
okay, cause I'm looking specifically at section 4, establishment of energy, New York Open Sea Pace, financing program. At the end of A, such recording shall be exempt from any charge, mortgage recording tax, or other fee in the same manner as if recorded by the municipality.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's right.
It treats it like a mortgage. So, again, my question is the borrower's share of the mortgage, is it intended that that's also exempt from, recording taxes?
Well, there is no borrower's share of the, I'm not sure I quite understand your question. So it's not a mortgage that we're recording?
So why does the local law refer to it as a mortgage?
Oh, that language is put in there to avoid any confusion, which obviously is not always working, but it's to avoid any confusing this lien with a mortgage. So they don't want, when we go to record the lien at the county clerk's office, to be treated as though we are recording a mortgage. So that's why it's saying that it should be exempt from any charge, recording tax, or other fee, because they don't want it to be treated in that same way.
I'm just gonna throw out the comment that you're financing equipment, which is not real property. So I don't know why you would put the language in there that it's a mortgage in the first place, because you're financing equipment. So it's not a real property mortgage issue. So I think it just adds confusion to throw that in there.
But tell them it's paid for.
Yeah,
Isn't that gonna follow that bill?
it's gonna follow the property, cause it's a lien,
Right, till it's paid for, though, that, it's gonna follow it. whether you
and
wanna
it's
get
gonna
rid
have
of it or not.
priority over other mortgages. So. Any other questions?
Anybody?
Ryan, do you have anything else?
No, I think that, clearly maybe there's some things that need to be ironed out, but the bottom line of this program is it offers funding to people who wanna improve their properties that otherwise wouldn't have access to that funding, so.
With energy.
With energy efficient things.
Yeah.
Now, the lender's not gonna, you know why banks walk away from some of the homes around here? Because they're 180-year-old homes that are falling down. The lender in this situation isn't gonna walk away from a place that has $350,000 worth of solar panels on it. So, I think we're talking about a hypothetical that's never gonna happen.
Mhm.
That's correct, and if I could just add something, and I couldn't hear all of that, but just to remind everyone, this is a form of capital for commercial and nonprofit building owners, and it's specifically for approved energy efficiency upgrades or renewable energy systems. And as program administrator, we make sure that the project complies with NYSERDA's commercial PACE guidelines to make sure that the financing is being used for eligible permanent improvements to the property. and that because this type of financing allows for such long terms, it can match the life of the improvements, which can be 20 to 30 years, and it transfers upon sale of the property. This allows property owners to make much larger improvements to their buildings that reduce operating expenses and also generating a positive environmental benefit through reduced emissions. So that's sort of the context of it being, the state law providing this public benefit. And we have 11 capital providers now who are approved to participate in our program, and we expect more to be joining. So property owners have a choice when they look for capital for their projects, and that's creating a more competitive market and reducing rates for property owners. So we're really excited, and we're seeing a lot of interest across the state, both from municipalities and from property owners who want to use it. So we're excited, and NYSERDA is excited about the potential for this to facilitate really impactful projects to help improve the building stock of communities across the state and to provide this environmental benefit.
I would.
And I'm happy to continue. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would offer that I agree that, it's a good thing to have this in place, and as long as the lien process that you're incorporating doesn't encumber or inhibit us the ability to foreclose on property for non-property tax payment, and the property remains, we can still pass it along with a quitclaim deed lien free. I think the county should support.
And I'm happy to continue, Joan, if you want to have a follow-up conversation to go through those points.
Yeah.
About the lien process, I'd love to do that. And just for the last point that was mentioned, this program has been designed to remove any burden from the municipality while allowing for more capital to come into the state to make these improvements. So we've really tried to take off all the administration away from the municipality and any financial risk, while still allowing the municipality to offer this public benefit.
Okay, that's good.
We'd like to thank you for your time. I guess everybody else's questions been answered. We appreciate it. And
Great, thank you so much.
thank you again.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll be in touch.
Okay, thanks, Sarah.
Okay, bye-bye.
And, as long as we are protected, and it looks like that we're gonna be protected that way, because they got money invested, more than likely, they're not gonna let it go to tax sale.
Yeah.
And if they keep having the same problem, we're still gonna get paid,
Right.
so. Anybody got any discussion on that now, or?
I don't.
I think we got one in our packet, so. What we're gonna need to do is, move along. We'll start the docket.
Fixing date of the public hearing for establish a sustainable energy loan program. You have a copy of the introductory law, and the public hearing would be set for November 5 at 5 o'clock.
So you can fine tune the discussion later, and
Yeah.
we can keep this on track, and
Right,
you can
and if
update
there's
us.
anything major that comes up, I'll talk to you and Jerry about it.
So, with the information we have now at this point in time, I'm willing to move it forward if something comes up. It may be different, but right now, the way it sits, I don't see any problem.
authorizing an agreement with Atlantic Testing Laboratories for asbestos testing at the highway garage for $1,200.
I do have one question. Didn't we do a bunch of this? I can't tell you exactly how long ago, because we tested down there when we painted the floors, we scraped it up, we had people in there, and we spent a lot of money cleaning it up, so
This is
don't we have that
this-
information?
I don't know about that. This testing is specifically for the caulk around the windows. That's what we're testing. We're testing the caulk because part of the Burn Your Car 5-year plan is to replace the windows and tighten up that building because we're losing heat like a sieve during the winter time. Those windows are original from 1910 when the building was constructed. So that's the.
And I'm not against it, but I know we run tests, and I thought it was all over that building.
Okay. Matt, do you have any records?
I have not heard of anything
That
like
is testing for lead.
No, it was
No,
asbestos.
it was a
This-
lead or
We spent
asbestos?
$40,000
I
down
can
there.
tell you that this is relatively new because when we, the mill demolition process, they had to come back and test the caulk on the windows because it's a new EPA requirement. And the stuff will be hot and it will have to go.
Well, I mean, the bottom line, when we looked at doing building design there with the drawing we already had, it was already established that the caulking was hot. That's why I'm asking,
Yeah.
and then we scraped some floors,
Right.
and we contaminated everything, and we went in there and had a crew for quite a few days wiping
Yes.
it down. I think we tested.
Yeah.
Why don't we, between now and the October meeting when we vote on this as a group, why don't we talk to Frank Archer and also
I can contact
Dave
Joel.
Becker or one of the guys from Highway from
I
years
believe-
back? And
I can
believe it
contact
was
the
back then, it was
ex-superintendent,
Dave,
Yeah.
Charlie
Yes,
Lang.
it was.
there you go.
And it
He
was
there for 18
ATL.
years.
and actually
No, it was under Becker.
Frank Pace was involved in
Yeah.
it
So he
too.
was gone already?
Yeah, it was under Becker.
And I don't, I mean, we may have gotten it now,
We had
I'm
that
happy with
company.
doing it, what we need to do.
Dakota,
Huh?
I think it's Dakota Edge.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, well, if we've got, if we've done it somewhere, then those guys remember, we can, try to dig it up.
The engineers down there, the code engineers, they would have record of it.
Right.
We spent $40,000 on
What's the name that you remember, Greg?
it. Dakota?
Dakota.
Is the testing
That was the
It
one
was
that
under-
abated it,
Yeah.
took it out.
ATL did the testing.
Okay. Well, we'll look into it.
A renewal agreement with the Venus Enterprises for snow plowing of the, tower sites.
Same price as last year.
No, I was looking at 4, we must have jumped.
Did that go out
And
for
did we not,
proposals?
and we did not, which tower is need plowing, the one at the PSB?
He feels.
He doesn't-
Because there's not-
PSB and
there
number
should be
3.
9 towers.
PSB at number 3, Shale says.
County Highway keeps number 3 and Matt's crew does PSB because it's
Now,
right
he's
there by the
plowing
jail
8
driveway.
supposedly, is what it says here.
Okay, we have 10
Don't
towers.
we have 9 towers
We
total?
have 10 towers total.
Okay,
And number 3, County Highway opens it up for us, keeps it plowed in, and
Okay.
PSB, Matt's crew does it when they do the jail driveway and that gate.
so okay,
It lists them right
And
in
it
the
didn't go out to
resolution.
bid, Dick, it didn't go out to bid because when it was bid, we put a renewal in his original bid, Joan, right, to keep it for 3 years. And I think this is the 3rd renewal, so next year it'll have to go to bid. It's very hard to get people to bid. We want one contractor for all the sites, and Davinas is the only one that'll take the bid, but next year it will need to go back out.
That's right, that when he got there, he was the only bidder,
He was the
right?
only bidder,
That's what I
yeah.
thought.
We had
Yeah.
people who were interested in
That's a
certain
decent
sites,
price.
guys
Right.
in the south want the south and the ones in the north, but, and it is all covered under our grants, so, but next year we do have to rebid it.
Okay.
I think we get a really good deal with him actually.
We do, yes, and he does a very good job. He's gotten, first year was a little, I don't think he
rough.
really realized what he got into, but, he has improved, don't you think, Matt?
Yes.
And anytime we need him to do something, he's right there to do it, so.
Appropriating funds, district attorney's account, for trust fund accounts, funds rather, $188.25 for a plaque, and, capital equipment funds, $2,755 for, monitor computer and monitor for the prosecutor's case management system.
So that's updated from what was in your packet. We wanna get that, if you recall a couple months ago, we added some, we took some money out of capital data processing to do scanners and computers at the sheriff's department. This is the DA's component of that same system. They will have this whole system up and running by January 1st, 2020, when the discovery reform starts and the state wants everybody on the paperless system. So this will get everybody up to the paperless system by.
Does the, like, sheriff's department need more, or they got enough stuff for?
They should have, I don't know, Sheriff, this is what, we got what you asked for, so I don't know if you need any more, but.
Okay. Thank you.
Adopting a procurement policy for emergency management services.
This came out of an audit from the federal government about how we were spending the resources. They had things that they needed in addition to our countywide procurement policy, so this is now the emergency management procurement policy,
For
which is
federal grants.
slightly
Just
more
for
strict
federal.
than ours, just for federal grants.
Okay, so it's just putting in what they reported.
Yeah.
It's almost identical, it just was missing some verbiage.
That was Bob's favorite audit, ask him about it sometime.
That was good times. Happens every 3 years.
Agreements with New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services for grant awards. Yeah, I know. Yep. Yeah. Appropriating the funds for the fire and emergency management grant, $54,984, this is appropriating the funds.
As we're going through this, if anybody's got any questions on it, feel free to ask.
Authorizing mutual aid agreements between emergency responder agencies and the fire and emergency management department.
Just wanted Bob to play nice with everybody.
Right. Everyone knows how awkward it is to deal with the
Appropriating $10,600 to purchase a 1994 International from the town of Martinsburg Fire Department.
Where's that?
What do we gotta do with
Where's
this?
that?
What's this all about?
This is, if you guys recall, a few months ago, we were watching an auction down in Yates County. We wanted to replace our salt truck, which is a 1989?
I believe so,
1989 salt truck. We don't wanna spend all the big money to go through Enterprise to rent a brand new vehicle that we're just gonna cover in salt and drive until it's a rust bucket again. So the guys have been looking around on different auction sites. They found one in Gates County that they liked. It ended up going for like $16,000, where our budget that we were looking for was around 10. This one came in right where they wanted it. The truck's in great shape. We'll take the emergency, equipment off the back and put on the Salter, and it'll be our new salt truck. So that's using the $200,000 that we give to Highway every year for equipment. That's their last 10 grand a year.
You bought Martinsburg?
Town of Martinsburg truck, yeah, it was their search and rescue truck, emergency truck. We're gonna take the box off the back, this toolbox off the back.
Which number is that though, is what we're going over? That's what
It wasn't in the packet.
It wasn't in the packet.
Not in the packet, okay, thank you.
The truck had 10,000 miles on it. So,
Probably had that many hours.
no,
Not hours either.
no, it was a little low on hours too.
To appropriate insurance recovery funds in the highway department for the damage to the plank and number 3 roads.
Same amount, right?
$32,000.
This is an additional amount.
Oh, an additional, it's 130.
26 was the first one, yeah.
To close the capital account for the Van Amber Road over Beaver River project.
That's not the one that Tom lined up in the question, is it?
No.
No.
That's the Jordan Falls Road bridge. And I just got an email on it that they wanna close on it, so we gotta decide what we're gonna do.
He thinks his collection agency kept the money,
That's what he told me the other day too. He thinks they collected it. I don't know.
Has it been flagged or?
The Jordan Falls Road bridge has been rebuilt. They put a new bridge in there. And the problem was there was a Paul Lineker sold material for the gravel for it. And wasn't paid all his
He has a
money.
dispute
Oh.
with the,
There was a discrepancy there between the contracts, so.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Agreement between the highway department and Hoyt Albert Architects, Engineering and Surveying for the bridge replacement on West Road over Wet Stone Call. To authorize changing yield signs to stop signs at 3 intersections throughout the county.
I don't see the Hodge Road on there. Or did I miss it?
I don't know if it is on there, to tell you the truth.
No,
It
it's
isn't? Okay. So we're still,
in the process.
we're in the process of changing that into a, it will be changed because the engineers had already taken care of that, so.
I always come to a complete stop at every stop sign, Larry. I still stops, I don't trust them. That's a nightmare corner.
Directing demolition and removal of unsafe building, John D. Rosher property.
Julie's picking at me.
To what?
No, listening for the cleaned up. This the one up your way, Gary? One on the.
And they're setting an enforcement hearing date for the John D. Rosher owner of for a non-compliance with junkyard law. Setting an enforcement hearing for the Joseph Morshak property, non-compliance with junkyard law.
American pickers need to come up again, huh?
what's that?
American pickers need to come up again.
Some of that stuff, they don't even want that. They
Well, I was
don't-
gonna say, I'm not sure they'll find it much good.
They did want that
They,
Corvette.
I was gonna say they, what,
They wanted
you know,
that
they were
Corvette.
there.
It wasn't
They
a
have a whole bunch
hundred,
of
it was more
bicycles.
checks property.
I think that's still around.
Yeah.
more check?
The unamended petition?
The inside check.
No.
Oh,
That,
oh, is that what it is?
Agreement with Community Planning and Environmental Associates to develop a Lewis County Agriculture and Farmland Protection Plan.
Is that like a grant we applied for, or?
Yes. And they went out to bid, that was, the lowest bid.
And we'll look at Mike Young's presentation. This is the agreement with New York State Office of Legal Services for that council for $2,163,47. Resolution to close the Capital Radio system account.
Cheryl's happy.
I will point out, there was just a little bit left in there, we stayed under budget. Cheryl did a great job, thank you. It was supposed to be 5-1.
Agreement with Oneida County to utilize space at the county's tower site shelter.
What now?
This is on the NIPA tower. They just want some space in the shelter. They've made an arrangement with NIPA to put something up there, I think, Cheryl, right?
Yep. Oneida County's going on the Power Authority Tower.
It did
to
take the
shoot
load?
Towards back, that's up to the Power Authority, we don't own that tower.
Okay.
So they're working with the Power Authority. What they're requesting from us is to put a couple racks of equipment in that shelter. There is plenty of room in there. They will not, the only thing that they will be taking from the county is a backup generator. They're not gonna hook into our backup batteries, they're gonna have to provide their own. They're not gonna hook into our power, dehydrator for the lines, they're gonna have to provide their own.
They're gonna run new electric in there?
They're going to, I talked it over with Matt and Joan and a couple of Oneida County guys. I think we should require them to do their own circuit like we've done the Mohawks and Search and Rescue. And then we will come to an agreement. Our electric there is approximately $150 a month. I think we need to watch it for a couple months when they're ready to go, and then they need to pay the excess above $150. And we haven't got into negotiations still. They're still looking for money. As soon as they can find some grant money or county money on their end to buy that extra equipment, Oneida County's having a lot of trouble with coverage. Their system, they kind of piecemealed what they had together with some new towers in this end of the county, several ends of the county, but this end particularly, they're having a lot of problems with coverage, so they're looking to get into that tower. So, and there's lots of room. They will not impede on our equipment. We're talking to the HVAC, Siemens and Cummings right now about the generator, just to make sure that our systems won't be compromised to hold the load with the generator and cool and heat. But we have 2 units there, so I don't know why it wouldn't work. So
we'll
where's
wait
the
till-
tower? Where is it?
it's up off of the
Bear Hill.
Ziegler Road in
Outside
town of
West
Leiden. And it's
Yeah.
a big tower. It's like 800. It's a huge tower. So I'm sure there's room. I would say, but I don't know though. That's up to them to figure it out with Power Authority. We don't own that tower. So.
Yeah, the big thing was the last time we put stuff on.
Oh, I know.
the
We had to
little
jump
bit,
through hoops to get one antenna up there.
Whether
So.
the load, it's reaching capacity,
So that's and that's on Power Authority. That's not on us. So.
so, no.
Rescind resolution 201, stop DWI due to a duplicate entry for funds.
Sorry.
authorizing to amend the agreement with Bernie Bus for 2 additional county buses.
And we're getting funding for this too, I assume, for the extra. I got it.
Our boat transportation system is budget neutral. I mean, we pay for Cassie's salary, but that's it.
Agreement with Black Broadcasting for an advertising campaign of the bus system. And then there's 2 agreements with Spectrum for a campaign, for advertising campaign, and then also with WWNY for the bus system. Overall bus system. Road agreement between the county and the towns, Lewis, Harrisburg, Pinckney, for the Atlantic Wind Farm project, Deer River Wind Farm project. This docket was not listed on your sheets. This given this morning, approving agreement between Highway and CNS companies for bridge replacement on the East Road over Moose Creek. And to amend the compensation plan with reference to district attorney office, this was also not listed, to create a temporary legal assistant.
So the district attorney had a vacancy in assistant district attorney. She's been interviewing candidates for months, has finally found someone who is agreeing to come to work for us. However, this person has not passed the bar yet. So we have to wait for them to pass the bar before they can get paid and, you know, compensated as a assistant district attorney. So in the meantime, until January 1st, they will work as a legal assistant, learning the systems, preparing cases. Then once they officially get their letter that they passed the bar, they can separate into court and be good to go. So that's the plan.
Did the other thing ever get signed, or is it still sitting on Andy's desk?
It has not been signed. In fact, I've tried to reach out to Seth Belt, our North Country's governor guy, 3 times in the last few weeks, and he hasn't gotten back to me. So I don't even know if Seth Belt's still with the governor's office. I called Empire State Development, the people I know over there, yesterday to try to get a new contact. They haven't called me back yet, so I don't know.
I did hear at NISAC that a couple that were on the governor's desk did get signed, like yesterday or something. I don't know if ours was one of them.
For the same thing?
Yeah, for the, yeah.
Jerry, the sheriff has been waiting patiently. He
Okay.
sent me an email. I didn't quite see it, but he's got something that's come up just today that he needs
Okay,
the committee's assistance with.
Want to come up, please?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, this is just something that came up today. We, well, I think I told you about it before last year, stuff, looking at the oven in the jail. Or the oven in the jail. Talked about that before. I said something was gonna happen, we need to get replaced. It's happened. And, we're still working with it, but, we have a brake burner doesn't work, the door hinges are broken on it now, it won't close all the way. It doesn't heat properly. We've had uncooked food served to the inmates a couple of times. We got that from the health department came and took a look at that for us. So we're looking at replacing it. And so far we've got the model we're looking at. One quote would be between right around $10,000 to replace that. So we're looking to get that out of contingency if it's at all possible.
With the hood too, right, Sheriff?
Correct. Correct. Yes, sir. And like I said, we got 3 quotes. This is just today we started looking at it. So when it came up.
Okay,
What are these
Well,
must be
don't get
heavy
through.
duty commercials?
It is. Yes, it's
that much money.
that much money,
it's 30 years old. That's the problem. So it's the original one that came with the building when they built it.
yeah, so you prorated it.
Didn't we get 3 bids on it that much?
He's got three quotes.
Oh, he's got it.
Yeah, we're
got
gonna
3
finish.
bids.
Yeah.
You know, I guess the first question I'd ask,
I think he'll be cooking for Office of the Aging, okay?
no. Hey, with this new oven, can you help us out?
I can't make any promises yet.
I gotta ask it, just to ask it. I mean, do you have any money you can contribute to it?
No.
Okay.
No, sir.
So I guess the next question is that I feel it's important. I feel it's a necessity to get up and get running again.
How big of a stove is it? Sorry.
Oh, it's quite large. I mean, you can put probably 2 turkeys inside of it, I'd say. Remember, you're cooking for 40 people each time, so.
The doors kind of swing open, or?
No, it's a drop-down door. It's a drop-down door, so it's a heavy-duty one. But like you said, 30 years of rocking it open 3 times a day for 7 days.
What's the brand name, Sheriff? What's the brand name?
I don't have it for it off the top of my head. It's like I said, this all happened this morning, so I just researched it real quick. We went on, took a look at one.
And I guess the next question.
Garland. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yep.
Okay.
As far as finding someone, we got it. Possibly one of those accounts.
Your contingency account can
Yeah.
cover it.
Okay. It's open for discussion, what we want to do.
Well, I can serve peanut butter and jelly for a while if you want.
Okay, anybody?
Yeah, we'll send our items from
Is
Office
there
of
any
the
discussion or anything?
I made a motion
to replace it.
Okay, okay.
Ron seconded. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, nay? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll have finance. Not appropriate, but
Are you doing committee stuff right now, or?
Do you have something else? Because they're gonna adjourn probably.
I told them I'd, I just had a lot of back home, so I got over
Somebody's got some questions. I mean, one thing, when we have a little bit more time, would like to, talk about snow plowing and stuff, what do we want?
Sure, sorry, I didn't realize you got these done, but I'm the phone spoil stuff back there. But I promised you all that I'd have a little information for you in regards to narcotics in the near future. Remember that a few months back I told you some things. So I've got a report if you'd like to hear it. I got something for you if you'd like to hear it. It won't take long.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, we got 5 minutes before they throw us out.
All right. No, I appreciate it. Like you said, these guys, I've been waiting to put this together. I'm going to hand you the report, but if you would, I'm going to read it to you. If you have any questions, stop me and I'll explain, okay? It says the task force is comprised of 2 dedicated members, a full-time sergeant from the Lewis County Sheriff's Office and a part-time investigator from the Lewis County District Attorney's Office. Additionally, a member of the Loudville PD is available to assist as needed. Protocol for most situations involving undercover operations requires a minimum of 4 members of officer safety and the safety of confidential informants that work to assist with these covert operations. Surveillance for any undercover operation is imperative. In order to meet basic undercover operational standards, manpower is drawn from the sheriff's office, drawing investigators away from their daily duties. Additionally, a member of the Lewis County Probation Department will often assist as needed. While this is not an ideal situation, since the inception of the task force, it has assisted in the needed manpower. The New York State Police is consulted with weekly to supplement the informational database, and during the end of 2018, New York State Police provided much needed assistance. However, the state police went through some structural changes, downsizing of the narcotics unit. The CNET assigned to headquarters was disbanded, and the individual supervisor investigators were assigned to individual troops. Many of the CNET members were assigned to a new unit called the Violent Gang Narcotics Enforcement Team, and some were transferred to other units. Lewis County falls under Troop D, and with this downsizing, Troop D currently has 50% less supervisors and approximately 30% less investigators than their highest members. State police operations require a supervisor on every undercover or controlled by and each search warrant, so changes in staffing and transfers has hurt the availability of state police to assist others in task forces, including Lewis County. Office space. Equipment and vehicles were an issue when forming the task force. Office space was acquired at a very reasonable cost. Items to equip the office came from surplus county supplies and the sheriff's office. The DA's office used forfeiture money to purchase required equipment for the newly hired DA investigator. The DA's office had one vehicle that was a previous forfeiture that required repairs to get into the service. The sheriff's office had 2 old vehicles to use for undercover operations. Since then, vehicles were obtained from the state, and the recently surplus vehicles were obtained from the county. The task force has been involved in 27 undercover controlled buys during this reported time frame, with many of these cases closed by arrest. Investigative procedures have resulted in the execution of 6 search warrants within the county. Information developed by the task force has taken the investigations outside the county with additional search warrants executed by both the New York State Police and the Jefferson and Lady County Sheriff's Offices. The task force works closely with probation and parole and has been requested on several instances to assist in searches related to their job. The searches have uncovered methamphetamine, clandestine methamphetamine labs, and unlawfully possessed weapons. The task force has assisted both the Lewis County Sheriff's Office and the Loudville PD with fatal overdose investigations. These investigations have clearly indicated that heroin and fentanyl are involved with these deaths. The task force has made it a priority to investigate and stop the source and supply. Late last year, the task force worked closely with CNET, who took the lead on a heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl supplier. The investigation resulted in a search warrant within the county and uncovered a large amount of all 3 drugs mentioned. After this investigation, the dynamics of drug sales in the county changed. Unable to get quantities of drugs within the county, the dealers and users started making runs to sources in cities like Utica. The task force was able to target 2 dealers making runs, and they were arrested on a Lewis County grand jury sealed indictments. The investigation on these 2 dealers resulted in information being shared with the state police and identified the Utica supplier. This dealer was knowingly selling heroin and fentanyl together. The Utica supplier was arrested by the state police, and the overdose cases dropped off significantly within Lewis County. During the above-mentioned time frame, the task force has worked with the following agencies to fulfill undercover operations, purchase illicit drugs, provide surveillance, make arrests related to, but not limited to, controlled substances. It's a long list. I'll go through real quick. This is who we worked with. Loudville PD, the Sheriff's Office, Lewis County Probation, Lewis County DA's Office, New York CNET, New York State's Contaminated Crime Scene Emergency Team, New York State Police Special Operations Team, State Police Special Investigative Unit, State Police Uniform Crime and BCI, New York State Parole, Fort Drum Suppression Team, the DEA, the FBI, U.S. Attorney's Office of Syracuse, Jeff County DA's Office, Atlanta County DA's Office, Metro Drug Task Force, and Oswego County Drug Task Force. Cases that we adopted, as they say, was that we took care of here were 17 methamphetamine possession or clandestine labs, 9 cocaine cases, 9 heroin or fentanyl related ones, 5 cases of opioid or methadone, 5 overdose cases, 3 LSD, 2 weapons, and 2 involved people who are on probation or parole. We had a case total of 52 cases between 2018 and 2019. Note the adapted case with various defensive drugs associated with us. Okay. Cases closed by arrest were 36. Some cases were closed with the arrest of the defendant of possession of drugs without filing charges, so to protect the undercover of the informant. I'm not going to go into that part there. We seized a few vehicles. We took off, we've taken one an assault type rifle, 4 regular rifles, a shotgun, several handguns. We received over $20,000, which went to the DEA, New York State Police, with no money being returned to this county at this time. That might come back to us in grants someday, who knows? We can only hope. Yeah, and that's about all I wanted.
Sheriff, does it go to them because they made the arrest? If you guys made the arrest, would the money stay with you?
As the case worked up, instead of our charges, wouldn't be as long as a long amount of
So
jail
they go with
time.
the other,
We go up to the federal level and kick it to actually getting prison time.
and then the money follows them?
Yes, ma'am, they would. Yeah, yeah, they would. So I mean, it's been a great team so far, and a great collaboration between us and the DA's office, getting to work with other things. It just goes to show you how much of a problem we really do have that is not published in the paper or on television all the time, and there's not, and it shouldn't be all the time, because it would compromise our work. But this is the kind of work these guys have been doing, and I'm very thankful to them. And it's a dangerous job that they do, day in and day out, especially at nighttime when they go out with just 2 members or 3 members alone, don't know what they're riding into. So, but I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this. So, thank you.
You're gonna give us copies of those?
I'll give you a redacted copy of some of it, because there's some cases on here I just realized I was reading that I don't want to give out yet.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yes.
What do you do with the weapons that you see?
The weapons we seize will be melted down. They'll yeah. Yep.
There's something in the
You can't
statute
resell
where
them?
they have to do that.
Yeah. What's that?
You can't resell them?
No way. No law enforcement. Well, I don't mean to punch a political one, but that's what the Obama administration did, and they got in trouble for that. So they did that with the
Well, years ago, you used to.
Fast and the Furious.
Resell them.
But well, they don't, not anymore. No way.
But then, as long as you sold it to a federal firearms.
Yeah. No. Now everything is melted down. Melted down. So, because something like that was done on the federal level, a U.S. Border Patrol officer was killed in the line of duty. So,
And sorry we made you sit there so long.
that's all right. No, that's okay. I was pulling up there. It's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. We have a motion. All right.